Hey everybody, I'm Cheryl Swift, the Duchess of Rock and Roll. I'm here tonight with Sam Lewis.
Hi.
Or better known as Jesus. Jesus and the Nazarene.
Jesus and the Nazarene.
I met Sam. I'm trying to think of when we met. You were on tour with Chris Stapleton.
Mm-hmm.
And we met in Columbia, Missouri.
Did we meet in Columbia, Missouri?
You were at the Blue Note. Chris was on the small tour before the huge, I guess, Grammy nominations. Was like 2 years ago? A year and a half ago?
It was, that show was in May of 2015. Yeah.
Oh, so it's not even been a year since we met.
Well, it hasn't been, it's been a year, it's been over a year and a half.
A year and a half, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
See, I'm so tired I can't even.
Quick, yeah, like that was, he had just released Traveler in May, and I did quite a few dates with him that summer, and we were playing like, I didn't really do anything. I just got to go hang out with some really talented people for pretty much the entire summer. And they were playing like 500 to like maybe 1,200 seaters, like tops.
Yes.
And most of them were selling out like day of, walk-ups. But I remember Columbia.
That's when it got serious.
Well, I think that was a 500 cap maybe, or maybe 800 cap, and it was kind of.
I think it's almost 800 at the Blue Note. Yeah.
I feel like it was over half full. All right, and then fast forward just a few months to November, and then he cleaned up at the CMAs. I think they sold like almost 150,000 albums like 8 days after that.
Really?
Yeah, he just landed on everybody's radar. And then the Grammys, he got nominated and won like I think 3 or 4. So yeah, like it changed pretty quick for them. But that's when they were one bus, and. They're the same people. It's incredible. But my first time playing St. Louis was just earlier this summer in June, and like all that happened, and then as soon as like the end of last year, I was like, well, that was fun while it lasted.
Right. You're like, well, thanks.
They will not be calling me anymore. And but they definitely surprised me, and I did some January dates with them, and they did like my first 2 shows of the year were at the Tabernacle in Atlanta, which is kind of like the Ryman of Atlanta.
Yes,
and they sold that out in 2 nights. They sold it 2 nights out, and maybe a day. Like it was insane. And when I showed up for those shows, it was just, man, like, okay, this is what it means. Like, the masses are here, and
it was different than he had played the Firebird here last summer, and then the Columbia show was either the week before or the week after, and I had gotten a call from Nashville. You have to go see this guy, Chris Stapleton.
Yeah, good call.
And I snuck into the Firebird because my friend Tommy owns it, so thank you for that ticket.
Yeah, good call.
And then I drove to Columbia because I was told I had to see you and Chris.
Oh, cool.
Because friends in Nashville called and told me about you.
Oh, wow.
So I drove to Columbia to see you and Chris, and I thought to myself, this is the last time Chris is going to play a venue this size. And boy, was I right.
You weren't wrong.
Because then by this summer, or this spring, I don't actually know the timeline, you were back, Chris asked you to come back, and you did the Tabernacle, and then you came to the St. Louis show, which I have to tell you, I live here.
Yeah.
We're here tonight in St. Louis at off Broadway. Sam's doing a solo gig here tonight. It's peace, love, and rock and roll. That night at the Fox, your reception and Chris's reception was the best St. Louis crowd reaction I've seen in my life of shows.
Are you serious?
I was moved to tears.
Wow.
And I know there was a point where I don't know if you remember this or not, but you got up on stage and the crowd was just ready. And you said, well, hello, we're Jesus and the Nazarene, because you don't know who I am anyway. You made some funny joke. I laughed so hard. And I was like, I love that you don't take yourself too seriously.
It's funny. There's no telling what will come out of my mouth on a microphone in front of people. I think of the coolest stuff to say like driving down the road, and then I get on stage and it just is like
Gone.
State
Yes.
state the obvious, Sam. State the obvious. state the obvious things. Yeah. So, man, I tell you, that was a really fun show for many reasons, other than that was my first time playing St. Louis, and to do it at the Fox was incredible. Those people, Chris and them, and his wife Morgan, they've really spoiled me in many ways. But it had been a long time since I had seen them in a theater setting, because by that point, that was in June of this year.
Right.
So the prior 5 months, they were already sliding out of these big 3,000 seater, really they were standing only halls, room spaces, to amphitheaters, since it
Right,
got
to
warm.
bigger, right.
And then we got to do it in the Fox, and it's just like, oh man, it was incredible.
I mean, the acoustics there, isn't it just like being in church?
Well, it's just their show is so fantastically simple. It's not lights and fog and all this stuff. It's this great song after great song after great performance after great performance, and it's so inviting and just you can't beat it, and when you put those things outside or in festival settings or whatever, there's a lot of that what they do that has a really hard time transcending, and getting out and hitting everybody the same way it does in a theater setting. So it was a really awesome show for us, and but yeah, playing in front of a lot of people like Chris and other big names. The opening slot is definitely it's kind of a Twilight Zone slot. It's especially when you're performing in front before one of the hottest names in the music industry,
right?
In front of people that don't know you, weren't expecting you. A lot of times, your name doesn't make it on the ticket, or it's even sometimes on the bill if it's a last minute edition.
Right.
If you're, it's 3 weeks, hey, you want to jump on this show?
You're not on the initial ticket.
So exactly. So you're kind of a surprise, and I always hope I'm happy about any of that, but I just hope that I can treat their crowd as well as they can, or whatever they're sharing at that point.
Right.
So I'm very respectful of that fact, but also want to make a good impression for my music.
Yes.
And so they have given me way, so much opportunity to do that, that I'm so indebted to them. I don't even know how the hell I can pay it back. But yeah, that was a really fun show. But the Tabernacle one, which is really important. Last year when I was touring with them, it was just me. I was just coming out and doing an acoustic thing. Okay. And by the end of it all, JT and Derek, Chris's rhythm section,
yes,
who I have a lot of miles with as well. They're on my records, and
they're amazing. By the way,
incredible.
Shout out to JT and
some of my favorite people in the entire world. And I asked them if it was cool, would they be interested in maybe playing on a few songs during my set? Because Chris and them, they were giving me 45
you were getting a very large.
Yes.
Were getting a large slot of time.
So that was happening last year. It was really fun. I'd play half of my set by myself, and I'd get them out there. And then Darren Shoemaker, who's Chris's sound engineer, front of house guy, he's an amazing mandolin player, and he would come out and play.
Yes.
And then I was eventually getting Chris out on a song by the back end of it. So it turned into this really cool thing. And so I opted the turn of the year. I opted to stay the course and stay solo and see if JT and Derek would want to do that again. And sure enough, that was may not have been the smartest call, because the Tabernacle, mind you, I've never been a part of a show or seen where there's a line wrapped around the building, which is almost a city block before doors, and I'm out there, looking, going, what is this?
What is happening to me?
And then, so the doors opened at 6, and then I wasn't scheduled to go on to 8 or 8:30, and these people are putting some alcohol away. So
that happens sometimes at shows I found this year.
So I walk out, and no one had to tell me how big that he had gotten. Like,
Right, it was obvious at this point.
yeah, I hit the backstage and made my way forward to play, and as soon as I did that, there was about 50 blood-curdling screams, and I thought, there's no way those screams know who I am, and even if they did, they wouldn't do that. These people think I'm Chris. These people are extremely drunk.
And they think that the hair is Chris coming
I
out
walked
of backstage.
Yeah, and so,
Oh.
like, and it is, I hardly ever have any sound coming out of the monitors. I get just a little bit, but
Right.
I like to hear what's going on. You know.
Organically
Yeah.
around you.
And so, man, like, I had the monitors, I don't even know, like, I had to have come close to blowing them, because I just had to, like, turn it up, I can't hear anything right now. The place was just throbbing. And then, thank God, JT and Derek came out, and they played on a few with me, and Chris even came out and played on one, and that was insane.
I can only imagine, because the
So-
Tabernacle can be a rocking
Oh,
venue.
it
Because
was-
Blackberry Smoke, when they play there, it's always
Yeah.
like the shows of the year.
Mhm.
You know, they just get such a rocking crowd
Yeah.
there, because you know they're Atlanta boys, and
Oh, yeah.
so
That's
it's a big venue in Atlanta
Yeah.
for big shows.
Yeah, to try to put an unknown with an acoustic guitar up against that, it is absolutely pointless. And like, I will take that all day, but after those two shows,
You're like, I need the full band, or I can't be up here
yeah,
with an acoustic
I
guitar.
was talking to my people. I was just like, I can't do any songs by myself. It's absolutely pointless. I'm not getting anything across. I'm wasting people's time. It's almost disruptive to a certain extent. It really is.
Because
You know?
the crowd was so rocking. And
Well, they
so
were just
ready.
they were ready for Chris, and then you get this other guy that kind of looks like him coming out there, but he's definitely not giving you anything you want. And even if he did, you couldn't hear it.
because of the sheer
Yeah.
volume and mass of the
So
crowd.
yeah, after that, I assembled a new band and took it out, and it was most
I loved
certainly
the
more
last
effective.
swing through St. Louis. The last swing
Cool.
through St. Louis was at a different venue here called the Old Rock
Yeah.
House, which I love both of them.
Mhm.
I mean, I attend lots of shows.
Yeah.
And then you played after Brian Owens, who's a great musician here
Yeah.
in St. Louis, and you were like, now how am I supposed to
Yeah.
follow that? You're like, well, first I'm
They
opening
ran
for
out
Chris.
they ran out of stage. They had like 15
people
on
up
stage.
there. I mean,
Yeah.
he's mesmerizing.
Yeah.
And so
Talented
I
young
thought,
man.
well, Sam, who, you know, I love your music because it's so authentic, and to me, you're just like, I want to hang out and drink beer, which is what I'm getting to do tonight. You know, you're chill and authentic in what you do. You know, you're not bringing the 15-piece orchestra. You know, you're really a great writer, in my opinion, and you're a great musician, in my opinion.
Thank you.
And it's different, not in a bad way, from that.
Yeah.
And you were like, when you got on stage, I love your humble nature too, because you're like, I'm not even sure how I'm supposed to, because it was like going up after the church choir was done.
Yeah.
And you were like, I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to do
Yeah.
right now. Now
It's
the crowd loved you.
It's like setting off a bottle rocket after like the downtown does the whole, like, you know, 4th of July spectacle.
You're like, oh, here's my one bottle rocket.
The grand finale, and then I'm like, hey, I got.
But I got fireworks.
Yeah.
It was a great show. So how we were talking earlier off camera about how this year musically has been both highs and lows. Like we're watching Chris, whom I adore. I'm not personal friends with him, but watched him grow with such great success. But on the flip side of that, we've lost so many great musicians who've come before you and Chris, and then this
Yeah.
new resurgence. What's it like as someone who does this for a living? What's that been like for you as someone who writes music for a living to go through this year?
It is, without a doubt, a massive combination of a lot of emotions. You know, you find that with growth, especially if done organically, it takes time. And in that amount of time, if you're growing, you know, correctly, you know, or at all, you're doing something right, you know, but things die out, and that brings change, And so it's everything's to a certain extent a double-edged sword. You know, like we've seen, you know, a great example for every, you know, there's only one Chris Stapleton, but like for every one of those that happens, you know, there's, I don't know if it's a balance. I don't want to get too like woo, you know, out
Yes.
there, but you know, this year, like Prince, David Bowie, Guy Clark, Ralph Stanley, Merle Haggard, Leon Russell, Leonard Cohen. I mean, like, are you kidding me? Like, it's
yeah, it's been a rough year for.
so. As an art, like, I still consider myself a fan. Like, I'm just like, I'm a fan that I still have to. Some days I have to call it a hobby because it's hard to take it all too seriously what I do. You know, because I'm really one of the luckiest people like you'll ever meet. So it's it's really it's beyond challenging because some of the people I just named are people that maybe want to pick up the guitar or make me want to write this way or maybe want to sing this kind of way or just like, you know, inspired me. And now like there's this void, you know, like their presence isn't here, but what they were put here to do is here. It's still here.
Right. Their
you know?
art is here.
Yeah, I just feel like if you're an artist is doing so many things at once. They're growing and building whatever it is they have to give, you know, from what they've taken. Okay? And so when what you've taken starts to disappear, like it is a whole new sense of responsibility. It's almost like it's like you've almost created some sort of like reincarnate or child of what was and what is. So the weight of responsibility is, I think, what I feel from it, and it's a lot of weight, and I don't know what I'm fully responsible of or obligated to do. But man, like, it's December of 2016. It's been a great year professionally for me, personally, and spiritually. It has definitely had its challenges. Spiritually meaning just like the belief in mankind.
Yes.
And goodwill, and it has most certainly been tested this year. And coming out, you know, in the back end of an you know, an album cycle, and I'm about to go into a new one. You know, I've written a lot, and I've tested a lot of those songs this year, and I'm happy to get in there and record them. But I know there's still some inside me somewhere that need to get out. And right now, I'm having a little difficulty, you know, opening it up and pulling them out. I'm very overwhelmed.
Yes, I get that. I think a lot of people,
Yeah.
artists, I think right now there's a lot of overwhelm in the world.
Mm-hmm. There is. It never changes, but it's just, again, like with growth, you get to a point, and you think the whole time you're going, like, oh, when I get there,
Like a rival.
when I get there, I'll be able to like just do
Yes, I can
this,
breathe
and I
and-
can, you know, no,
There's no arrival.
no, and that's why the journey is so important. And man, just on the way here today from Nashville, like this is my last leg of the tour of this year. I'm just by myself. We've got here, Kansas City, 2 nights in Chicago, Louisville, and I'm home, and I get to hang it up, you know, until like February, which is like, sounds like maybe
That
10
is
years
not-
to me. That's
yeah, I
a
was
long
gonna say
time.
that's a long time home.
You know, so I left out of Nashville today, and I get just at times this whole thing feels like a race. And I left, and you know, and found myself speeding a little bit. I'm like, like, no, I'm done getting in a hurry. I'm done. Like I'm missing something. I'm missing because I am mentally and spiritually fatigued and in a place that so I need to slow down and figure out why I'm here and what there can be done about it, because I don't know what I'm racing towards. You know, and it was a really strange morning, because when that happened, man, like I was starting like this. I felt like a little bit of haze was just kind of lifting a little bit. I was seeing things. Like, I've driven this way so many times, and I was seeing things were jumping out at me I've never seen before. I saw like 15 hawks.
Oh, I love. You came from Nashville, right? Yeah. My favorite part of that drive is counting hawks.
It's incredible.
Because I'm all about the hawks. They remind me that my mom. They're my spiritual reminder of my mom. And so one of my favorite parts of that drive, because I often do it alone, because I come to Nashville a lot, is to count the hawks. And a couple weeks ago, I was driving home, and my girlfriend said, "You need to slow down." And I thought, in my mind, I wonder if I'm missing hawks, which I know is silly, but I've done it alone so much that I'll get a little quick. And I too was like, wait a minute, Cheryl, don't drive so fast that you miss it. And and she got a little scared, and then I realized I'm not alone, really. And I just reminded myself to slow down. And I think actually most people right now would do well to listen to both of us, to not just count the hawks, but to just stop and be present.
Cool metaphor.
Thanks.
No, we're at, December is a really special time of the year. It's a time of reflection. It should be. It should be a time to shed what you've been carrying around all year, dead weight, and try to, if you can, remember what all you've done, and what to be grateful for, and so there's a lot of different kind of emotions happening with me right now, and I'm certain I'm not alone. But when it gets when it's really personal, is the music. Is because I've been giving for a while, and I have a whole hell of a lot more to give.
Thank God, because his music is fabulous.
Well, but it's daunting, just the when you realize you're a part of this movement that's going on now, whatever genre or name or whatever you want to give it. Like, it's weird to hear your name be mentioned, a part of it.
I'm sure. I can't imagine.
Well, it's really strange. Like. It's really strange, because like you only know where you see yourself.
Right. You only have the perspective of you.
Yeah. and I feel alone a lot. But it's good alone. It's when I can, my mantra is empty the cup before refilling. And I'm really at it right now. I'm really full, of good stuff. But I'm ready to empty it out and to refuel and get ready for the new year.
Yes. I can't wait to hear what comes out of you.
I'll play some new stuff tonight. It's going to be the Xanax versions of them, but
I'm okay with the Xanax version. I listen to so much speed things that Xanax is okay every now and again. I get inundated with music now. It's fun, but sometimes, there's so much music in my head. It's hard to always, go through it all every day. So you have 2 albums out. There's a 3rd album coming. Maybe next year we can look for that in 2017? Or maybe you'll start it in 2017?
I'm predicting a summer release at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot up in the air at the moment.
Got it.
But there will be something recorded by someone, released through someone, and
sometime in the next year.
It will arrive to some people's place of where they receive things.
Yeah, that was clear as mud. Thanks, Jesus. No, I'm just kidding. You cracked me up. And then people can find your music, samlewistunes.com.
That's correct, samlewistunes.com.
And Instagram, Sam Lewis, Twitter, Sam Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
Sam has a Facebook fan page, Sam Lewis?
It's all Sam Lewis Tunes at Gmail.
Sam Lewis
Yeah.
Tunes. So I just want to thank you because there's very few people that I get to meet that I actually, how do I word this?
Look like Jesus.
Well, there's that. There's the whole Jesus factor. But there's just this authenticity about you that I appreciate so much. I love who you've been toward me. I love who you are towards your fans. And I love that you would take a chance to do an interview with me. I mean, I know we've gotten to know each other over the last year and a half, but it means a lot to me that you would let me do this.
It means a lot for me for you to ask. It's your time too. So
Well,
thank you for sharing your time.
You're welcome. I love your music. It for me is like peace. It's peacefulness. It's sitting on the porch drinking a beer and hanging out with my friends, you know. And really, one of the things we talked about today is just civility and breaking bread and sitting down and talking with people.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm listening to your music, I feel like I'm sitting there just having a conversation with
Good.
you. And that relatable lyric and the way you speak, I just love it, and I think it's a great. I love how you write.
Thank you. That's one of the best compliments I think you can give. I mean, as a entertainer, performer, artist, whatever, like live art in that setting, you know, you have a stage, and then you have that area, you know, and then there is a wall. You don't see it, but it's there, you know, and a lot can just go one way if it's forced that way, and I don't like that, you know, and so it's important because there's a lot of things you guys want to say, but you can't, and we can't hear it anyways if you did. So it's really good to feel like that's a conversation, because it feels like a conversation to me.
Yes, it's apparent. So thank you for who you are, and for your music, and for the interview, and for your time. And
Yeah, thank you.
I'm just so glad I got to see you that
Yeah.
day in Columbia, and that
Yeah,
we've
me
become
too.
buddies over
Yeah.
time. And so we'll end with that. Okay, I'm
Awesome.
Cheryl Swift, the Duchess of Rock and Roll.
I'm Sam Lewis.
Jesus.
Excuse me.
And the Nazarene.
I'm sorry. Yes.
It depends on what stage you're on. Anyway, we're here at Off Broadway in St. Louis. Catch Sam Lewis at samlewistunes.com. I'm Cheryl Swift, and I wish you peace, love, and rock and roll.